Week 1 of the NFL has concluded. You have the Philadelphia Eagles coming back in the second half against the Redskins. The Pop Warner Giants defense making the Cowboys look like a Super Bowl team. The Cleveland Browns hype gets shut down early, and Lamar Jackson quiets his haters in one of his best performance in the NFL to date. I'll probably start it off. I have the NFL.com lit up here just so I know that I don't miss any games when I do this. But the Steelers and the Patriots, probably the least exciting game of the whole week, if you want me to be honest. Brown didn't play in this game. We knew that was going to happen because his signing with the Patriots was later. Able to play this game, it didn't make the cut of the time. I don't know how they measured the time frame, but the Steelers got dominated in this game. They could only muster up 3. They still didn't even get a touchdown. 33-3 was your final score. The Patriots were taking this one. And like I said, the Steelers looked awful. There really wasn't anything going their way, and the Patriots kind of just did everything all over them. Not going to talk too much about this game. There's not much to really review for this game, but the first Sunday Night Football game of the year did see the Patriots whip the Steelers, and Tom Brady's looking good already, and he doesn't even have Brown with him yet. So that was your Sunday. Richard Sherman did make his impact in this 49ers game. He did end up getting just an interception as the 49ers took on the Bucs, and Jameis Winston was semi-off in this game, and like I said, I don't think Winston really is the answer to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I've said this, that I know everyone was saying that Winston was better than Mariota. They were both drafted in the same class, and I really do disagree with you on that. I think Winston has had elite targets to throw to, but they were kind of whipped in this game. Garoppolo had a decent game. It wasn't anything crazy. And the 49ers did take this one 31-17. We're going to see what Tampa Bay does next week. I'm pretty sure they got a short week. They got Carolina on Thursday night, I believe. And the Panthers are going to be coming off that loss as well. And I think the Panthers are probably going to win this game. And it could be a long year for the Bucs. But like I said, it's early. And everybody after the first week kind of likes to say that they're either winning the Super Bowl or their season is over. You're as good as your first game. There's not much to go off of that as well. The New York Giants, there's really nothing giant about this team, especially on their defense. They probably have the worst defense in the damn league. Their defense is god-awful, and I think I know that when they hit the draft this coming season, the first thing they need to do is either draft a secondary or a pass rusher, because this defense is atrocious. I understand the Cowboys are a solidly good team, and they're getting better year by year, but they were absolutely melted by the Dallas Cowboys in this game. 35-17, Prescott went off. I know he's still thinking about getting that top dollar, but the guy threw for 400-plus yards. The receivers were everywhere. Elliott had a decent running day, but they do want to save him, so they're probably not going to go too crazy with him. But they were all over the place. The Giants' defense looked absolutely atrocious. Their offense didn't muster up much either, but Barkley did have a few plays to show up, but I just think the Giants might run him into the ground, and it might not be a good showing for Barkley this year. Well, no, it's going to be a good showing, but he's going to get overused and abused on this Giants team. So the Giants next week do have Buffalo, who is coming off that win we'll get to shortly. I think that the Giants really, like I said, they got to draft a defense. And someone brought it to my attention the other day about trading Eli to Jacksonville and getting picks, because Jacksonville is going to probably need a quarterback now. And if you think about that concept, the Giants get picks for draft to build their defense. Yes, they give away Eli, and you know it's not going to happen. But you also have Daniel Jones waiting in the shadow to get that guy going as well. So Giants get whipped, and we'll see what they do next week. Ties in the NFL should not exist, and I've been saying this for a very long time. It screws up everything, and Kyler Murray's debut went as such. Both quarterbacks threw for 350-plus yards, if I'm correct on that. The Lions and the Cardinals both tied 27 in this game. Larry Fitzgerald is not aging. The guy received for over 100 yards in this game. Kyler Murray really kicked it up in the second half in this game, and that was a strong suit for the Arizona Cardinals, who did not look good whatsoever in the first half, but they ended up tying, even going into overtime. Like I said, they went to overtime and they tied 27-27, so both teams are 0-1. I don't really think that matters to either team, because either team is not going to be fighting for the division. The Lions have realistically no chance in the NFC North, and the Cardinals are going to be probably the worst team in the NFC West. So, but Kyler Murray did have a good showing here, and we're going to see what each team brings next week. But ties should not take place in the NFL. Somebody's going to kick a field goal, man. I mean, like, at some point, it's just really ridiculous to me. Next game was a 4 o'clock game between the Bengals and the Seahawks. You did have Andy Dalton have one of the best games of his career all around. He was slinging it like it was a damn slingshot. He had over 50 passes on the day, not completed, but 51 attempts, and I believe he was 34 for 51. He had 400 plus yards in this game. John Ross really stepped up, and that's something that they were looking for last year, because they said that he had incredible speed and he was going to be good. He caught for over 150 on the day. Seattle scored in the fourth quarter to take this lead. This was a very, very back-and-forth game. Wilson completed most of his passes, and the Seahawks did edge out the Bengals, but the Bengals did have a good showing in their first week of the year. The next game was another overtime game on the first week of the season. The Colts and Chargers. This was one of the better games of the week. Kobe Brissett looked decent, and Phillip Rivers did as good as he did as well, 300 plus yards. That's an average. That's the standard for elite quarterbacks in the NFL. Austin Eckler was the backup. Melvin Gordon didn't play this game, still, holding out for that money. Austin Eckler had 3 touchdowns on the day. He's a very good running back, and I think that he could start. He's very small, but he's a good running back that could start on pretty much probably any team in the NFL as well. Keenan Allen had a great day, showing you why he's great. He had 123 yards receiving. And Marlon Mack was the running back of the week. He had 174 yards total as well. And the Chargers were able to get away with this one in overtime. The Colts played a very hard game. We're going to be taking them on next week. So the Chargers do hang on in overtime for a great game against the Colts. And the Eagles and the Redskins was another game where the Redskins were really in control for a majority of this game against the Eagles. Deshaun Jackson had a great showing for the Eagles. He had 154 yards receiving, and the Eagles kicked it on late to have a very cementable comeback. But at the end of the day, they did struggle with a mediocre Redskins team. So, anytime there's usually a division game, it has the chance to be closer contested because the teams know each other so much better than if the Eagles were to randomly play the Rams. But the Eagles did end up winning this game by 5 points. 32-27 was your final. And like I said, we'll see what we get out of this Eagles team. Wentz had a very good day, his first day back as quarterback for the Eagles. We're going to kind of see where he goes and what it is that he does with this Eagles team. But I think if everyone can stay healthy on this Eagles team could take the division, and they'll be neck and neck with the Cowboys for most of the season as well. Case Keenum had a good day, as well as quarterback for the Redskins. The New York Jets have this story where they'll play a decent game and they blow it in the fourth quarter, and I think almost not nearly as bad as the Knicks do in the fourth quarter, but the Jets did blow this game late. It was a defensive game, big defensive game between the Jets and the Bills. The final score was Bills 17, Jets 16. Le'Veon had a good first day back. They said that he looked good and that he didn't really show too much rust running the ball for the New York Jets. Late play by the Bills for a touchdown gave him this win. If you looked at the actual play where they scored, it looked like the defender, I don't know who was defending him, had a solid chance to stop him. And the Jets kind of choked this one late. But it is important for the Jets to win their next game because I do believe that they have a really difficult schedule coming up, if I'm correct on that. They have to win. They play Cleveland next week. That's the game they need to win. And then I believe in the time span of the 4 weeks after, they play the Eagles, the Patriots twice, and the Cowboys. So it's going to be a tough one for the Jets, and it could, week one, it's week one. Everyone pump the brakes, but it could turn into a disaster and spiral out of control real quick if they do not win this next Monday night game against Cleveland. And the Atlanta Falcons were probably the disappointment of the week, if you ask me. They were smoked, if you want to say, by the Minnesota Vikings. The Falcons and Vikings were playing. The Vikings won 28-12, and Julio Jones was nowhere to be found. He gets this monstrous extension. Everyone knows him as maybe the best receiver in the NFL, and the guy had 6 receptions for 31 yards. Matt Ryan was a little bit shaky. He did have 2 picks, And the Vikings defense was strong, and it was in suit in this game. And they did end up taking the Falcons 28-12. And now the surprise of the day to everybody was probably the breakout star in the breakout game. Lamar Jackson completely made me eat a mouthful of hate this week, as well as so many other people, in one of the worst beatdowns in NFL history. The Ravens absolutely demolished the Dolphins 59-10. Lamar Jackson looked beautiful in this game. He was rushing, passing. Marquise Brown had, I think, almost 150 yards receiving. I think Lamar Jackson threw for 5 touchdowns, if I'm correct. It might have been 6. And this Ravens team was just all over this Dolphins team, who's going to really struggle this year. And this game was so bad to the point where I heard that Dolphins fans were fighting in the stands, and the players and teammates were mad. Even players were asking for their release to an extent. It could be a very long year for the Dolphins. I don't think Fitzpatrick will be so bad for them as quarterback, but they just got absolutely melted in this game. And Lamar Jackson did have some controversial words, I believe, after the game, and said he's much more than just a running back. Made me eat my words. I can't really say too much, but like I said, it's just 1 week, so you're as good as your first week. So we'll kind of see where the Ravens take that. What happens when this team plays a solid defense that's good against pass, and maybe even, not to stroke my own Titans ego, but what happens when he tries those passes against our secondary is what I'm saying. A lot going on in the next game. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this game was Tyreek Hill actually got hurt in this game, but to my knowledge, his injury was not as bad as people thought. He's going to miss a few games, but he's not going to have surgery. Mahomes looked beautiful. If you could construct a perfect game for a quarterback, it was probably this one. He threw for 378 yards, got 3 touchdowns. Sammy Watkins is that player that you benched on your fantasy, and he made you pay for that. He had 198 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. This Kansas City Chiefs offense did what they did. They scored 40 on the Jaguars, and Nick Foles for the Jaguars went down early in this game. Looks like he could be out indefinitely. They don't know how long. I'm heard it's a broken collarbone, and I think that's about maybe 8 games or so. And his backup came in. He looked beautiful. Gardner Minshew looked really good. He has 22 for 25, 275. But like I said, Kansas City doesn't really have much of a pass defense as well, so we're going to see what happens next week. Maybe the Jaguars will sign a quarterback. Probably not, because they're going to bank that Nick Foles is coming back and Minshew can kind of hold the reins till then. But this Jaguars team does have a lot of question marks. And the next game was the game that I watched, and I was pleased from start to finish. The Tennessee Titans versus the Cleveland Browns. We smoked them 43-13, and I'm telling you, man, our secondary is as real as it's going to get. We have Pro Bowlers all over that secondary, and this was a beautiful game to watch. Cleveland struggled like crazy. The Titans' O-line was bad in the beginning. Cleveland couldn't muster up anything. Odell was kind of quiet. Not in the first half. He was kind of a little bit more effective. But this Cleveland team shot themselves in the face with penalties. They had 18 penalties on the day. And if there's anything that's bad about penalties, it's that our second drive, literally, they physically marched us down the field without maybe even like more than 2 completions. They shot themselves into Myles Garrett was throwing fists at Delaney Walker. One of their linemen got ejected. So the Browns, I think, are a very hyper team, and they're going to have to learn to control their temper, because it's going to start, if they lose to the Jets next week, and it keeps going this way for the Cleveland Browns, it is going to be a long season for this Cleveland Browns team with all of this hype behind it. But we dominated. Derrick Henry played well. He had a long running play. Very proud of our team. We got to Mayfield. We got a safety. Cameron Wake made his Titans debut, and this guy's just a monster. He had 2 sacks, 1 for a safety. And this Titans team, man, I think we got a real chance this year to be something special. I don't think that we have what it takes, obviously, to win. Our offense needs a little bit of help. But Mariota looked good. He had 230-plus yards in this game. And we dominated, and we'll be on to our home field to take the Colts next week. The LA Rams versus the Carolina Panthers. McCaffrey rushed for 2 touchdowns in this game. This was a run-heavy game. Gurley had 97 yards, McCaffrey 123. And I think Christian McCaffrey is really going to break out as one of the NFL's best running backs this season. Cam Newton looked okay, a little bit shaky. But the Rams did get the job done, 30-27. And the Panthers will be playing this Thursday against Tampa, and we're going to see what we get from there. Green Bay versus Chicago, probably the most boring game of the week. I barely even watched this game. I was so excited for it for the Thursday night NFL kickoff game. Green Bay didn't muster up much, but they did get what they needed to do. Chicago's defense was fantastic, but they don't have much of an offense, and that's something they need to work on. And to the Monday night frame now. The first game was probably the game of the week. Houston and New Orleans. This game was fantastic. I did not take any notes for this game. Houston was in control for a good portion of the first half here. DeAndre Hopkins was dropping a lot of footballs, but this Houston team was in control. They were up, I don't know what this, I think it was maybe 21-10 at half, and then the second half came and the Saints started coming back, and then the final minute and a half of this game was just complete cluster. It was touchdown, and then the Saints kicker was set up for a 58-yard game-winning field goal as time expires. This was the best game of the week, and the Saints ended up edging out the Texans in a great performance, but this Texans O-line looked like a complete bag of chips. This was bad for the Texans O-line. I think they gave up 5 sacks to Deshaun Watson, and they really got to work on that, because if you give this guy time, Texans could be much better. And the Saints ended up edging this one with that winning field goal. The final game of the week, the Denver Broncos taking on the Oakland Raiders, and this may have been the upset of the week. The first half of this game featured the Raiders in complete control on offense, on defense, and they were just running all over. Not physically running, but running as a term in general, all over this Denver Broncos defense that is supposed to be so strong. The second half came, you've seen a little bit more from the Denver Broncos, but you've seen the Raiders still in solid control as well. This Raiders team, it's the first week, but we can't really sleep on them too much, just because of the main fact that around this and that, I think this Raiders team has a good offense, and they're going to be able to score the ball this year. With their defense, they have a lot of question marks. I know they did draft Cleveland Farrell for that defense, but this is going to be an interesting year for the Raiders. They might be better than you think. Hard knocks always makes the teams look better, but reality, folks, this was your first week of the NFL, and I've probably been talking for the last 18 minutes straight without too much stopping, and that's pretty damn good. I'm probably going to have to use an oxygen tank after this to catch my breath. But this was a very interesting week in the NFL. We've seen the Ravens do something that I did not see coming. We've seen the Titans stomp the Browns. And we've seen a great game between the Texans and the Saints, the first of 2 games on Monday night. And a couple of comebacks. So you have a little bit of everything in this first week. Some dominating games, some close games, some overtime games, and a lot of different things in general. So I hope you enjoyed this first week. I'm going to normally try to do this on a Monday, but I wanted to wait just because it was the first week and I wanted to get everybody's team involved. So this was interesting. NBA review is probably going to be next on the channel. Our NBA preview and predictions, that is. This was a very interesting first week of football. Do not plan your Super Bowl party and do not cancel your season yet. This is still early in the NFL. So thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for making this part of your day, whether you're listening to it, watching it, or whatsoever. And I hope you guys are looking forward to week 2, and the NFL season is officially underway.